Page 2 in the middle of the page, so we explained the whole point. This Mishkan of Malchus, and Malchus is the lowest sphere, which has creates Elam Asir, and in Malchus Gufa, the lowest Madrig Malchus. Malchus is Mishkan is Malchus, and the creation is Mina Ofa Shir Bakarka Mishkan, which is the lowest Madrig in Malchus Gufa. So that's Shema. That's Shor Mitzvah Shema Chayasel. That should. If in Echad Baal, the Prince Ofa Shabakarka Mishkan, Prince Isa Tachtein Shema Chayasel Masi. Omnam in Inasias Mishkan. So that's the Mishkan itself. What does it mean when we build the Mishkan? A Kavana Bezau Shigila Lekus Lamat. It's not just that it shouldn't stay in the state of creation. It should turn into Gila Lekus Lamat. Shekosov Vasel Midrash Shachanti B'Seichem. The mitzvah of Asiyas Mishkan is Vasel Midrash Shachanti B'Seichem. She'ayna Kavana Kalachayis Mustavish Ba'ilmus. It doesn't mean that the Chayis Mustavish Ba'ilmus should be Shachanti B'Seichem, because Sharei Nimkein Ma'aretz Chachas Mishkan. So what's the Chiddush of the Mishkan? The world is created to the Chayis Mustavish Ba'ilmus. What was this Chadash? What was the new thing that happened that happens to the mitzvah of Asiyas Mishkan? Kavana shegila l'kusamata and shedir betachteinim. The inner of also the Mikdash, that's the inner from dir betachteinim, to make the Eibush the dwelling place in this world with gila. Tachteinim the betachteinim davka ba'elam atachna shel shafa b'mayla madriga gila l'kus. That's the lashon, more or less lashon tiny peglam involved. In the lower world there should be gila of l'kus. Which means she Gila Atzilus Lamata Princess Atzilus. So which Madriga should be is Gal in this world, not just Madriga of Malchus, but Atzilus itself, not only that above Atzilus. All this should be expressed in our world to the Vinyan Mishkan. Zer Sha'oma. That's the pasuk says also Li Mikdash, Li Princess Atzilus and so. Li means not just Madrigas of Gilui, Atzilus, but Madriga of Atzilus itself. Where do we see that Li, the word Li signifies the Madriga of Atzilus itself? The Chazal say, Kol Mokim Shenamar Li Ein Ezos Lo Ilam. Lo B'Elam Hazeh, Lo B'Elam Haba. Means Li means it's something that doesn't, it's never changed, it never moved, never expired. Why? That's Atzilus. Ein Ezos. In Atzilus in Sov, there's no concept of Shin of Efsek. There's no change. There's no Efsek. There's no stop. I know Gila Atik. So that also means in the language of Kabbalah and the language of Siddur, Gila Atik. Why? We see the less the says in Kabbalah, the less smaller Bahayatik. I think it's in Zayah. I'm not sure. The less smaller Bahayatik, meaning that the concept of in the Madrig of Atik, the concept of small doesn't exist. What's small? The small means Shesh has the low Madrigas, the low Atik. Madrigas of Chesed, there's Chesed Gvur, which is Atzilus. Yachalias Yaakov. So there's Gvur. Gvur means that there's a certain block. So that is the Chiddush of Beis Hamikdash, Li, which means the Gila of Atzmus, which is there's no Efsek, ain't Zazlaelu. Gila Beis Hamikdash. That Madrega is Bisgalas and Beis Hamikdash. There's another pasuk that makes this point that the Hamikdash was the place where the Gila such one time at Meshakosov. Yaakov Avinu on the way to Lavan, and he laid down in Yaakov said, "Ochen yesh havaya." Less than Asar Edit. Elohim asa darava the asa, what does kin means? Elohim asa darava min kodam Hashem. This is not a simple place. It's a place that has a lesson from Hashem. Asa mamois nikoim miladediot. So he's medayik the loshen asar ediot. Listen, asar ediot. It's not a space for the commoner. What does it mean? Because asar mamois nikoim miladediot. There's an expression that says in I think in Zohar that asar mamois. I think it's in Zohar that the asar mamois are called miladediot. This means the words of the common. The lav, what is an expression in Gemara? Lav ocha de malka l'ishtav mil de. The king doesn't speak like a common; he speaks like a king. So why do we say that that asar mamoros are called mil de dieta? Asar mamoros shebem nivrael, makman called mil de dieta. Ki b'asar mamoros ein nitzka shem havai Hashem Elokim. So that's the same concept we just learned in the Maimer before. Asar mamoros is not Shem Havaya, only Shem Elokim, or Shem Elokim Shemayim, Matzah, the Shem Havaya. So that's the dieta, the common words. That's the expression of Shem Elokim, which is tzimtzum, which is hiding the Shem Havaya. However, Makam HaMikdash, less than Asar did. Makam HaMikdash is not the place of the commoner. The Meir Shem Gilu Shem Havaya, Shegilu Knesat Tzitz. Makam HaMikdash is the place, Gilu Shem Havaya, Gilu Tzitz. But in Targum it says more than that. That's what it says in Pasuk. It also says in Pasuk. No, 1 second. So, what is it? Mashenk, it says number 1 is Asar Edit. Targum, he adds more the Targum. Asar Ravabe. The place, the Ravabe, the Rotzen, Giluch Nezarotzen, Shalom Maila Batzilus. So the 2 levels. Number 1 is Gilev Havaya, which is Atzilus. Then there's even there more, even a higher level, which is the Rotz. What's meant? So it says, Bosik Nema Havaya, the Bosik says something. There's Havaya Bamakam, so why do you say it's Rotz? It answers, the Ainu Kini Ani Havaya, the Ani Havaya Kolachad, which means it's a higher level than Stam Havaya, which is Atzilus. It's Ani Havaya. The ani v'havaya kol echad shomei pnes hatzilus megamer shel ma'alam hatzilus. In the havaya of hatzilus is we have the ha'ara of the madrig of the earth shel ma'alam hatzilus. So that is the chidush. That's what's happening in Beis Hamikdash. Remember the Shabbat pasuk basel gani lignuni. Basel gani brings our famous medrash that pasuk that. That's impossible. Basagani says Lagnuni means in my place of connection. Malcolm Sharik Betchili, Kashan Tanimai, so Pushko, so Vaita Vailakim can made me Kedem, Vaishmakala Vailakim Asal Bagon. That in Gan Eden they planted a garden, and Vaishmakala Kim Sal Bagon. Shon Vailakim, and Shadeh Hashem Elikim, Hey Gil Hashem Avai. So that's that madriga, but happening in Gan Eden, then it's stuck to Hashem Elikim, but it's Avai Elikim. Elikim was Mei Hashem Avai. Ein zek Hashem Elikim levad. Moshe Kosu Bereishis Bar Elikim. So when it says earlier Bereishis Bar Elikim, that applies to. That's so Yisrael is Gam Kim Shem Havaya. Because Beis Balikim is also Yisrael Shem Havaya. Zeo Moshe Hashem Likim Ma'ayim Master Leil Shem Havaya. Because of Shem Mola Havaya Likim, but later when it says Va'ita Havaya Likim, Va'ishmakal Havaya Likim, Ushadeh Shem Likim Megil Shem Havaya. Da Gam Da Yisrael Aslev Loyev Shaliyos Shem Likim, Loyev Shaliyos Shem Likim. what does that mean? גם דסאו סלב שלי יש משם ליקים מכל קבש נסבו או יגיל השם הוויה ממש. Okay, this word לא יש משם ליקים, not sure what they mean. חרב זה saying hotel, that they saw was to שם ליקים, אבל אחר שנסבו יגיל השם הוויה. קיים, אחר שצא קיים משם ליקים. Not sure. I don't know, let's double check it. רק שגיל בגן עדן שמוקם המובחר. But where was the gil of Shem Havaya? Mokam Amufcha Shabbos. Not every place in the land in the only Mokam Aruchni, Gan Eden, which is the Mokam Aruchni. Find place Ruchni Shabagash Mishkos Mokam Achar. And there's a lot place in Chassidus which is based on earlier writings describe what is the meaning of Gan Eden. Gan Eden means the Ruchni Shabagashmis. I mean, there's some place that says in the Meforshim says Gan Eden was the actual location in this world where all this happened. That's also true. But the deeper meaning, Gan Eden means in the entire world. There's the higher state of reality, which is Ruch Nishmagash. And from Gan Eden, the Gilda was nimshach in this world also. So all this is describing, all this discussion is to explain what does it mean that Ikar Shechina B'Tachtenim is. That in the Eivishter created the world, there was Gil Hashem Havayit in this world, in the Ruch Nishmagashmi, in the Gan Eden, and from the Gan Eden, it was nimshach, it was pulled further into the entire world. I'm
sorry, I just the audio, the video is not showing somehow. Okay, thank you.
Okay. It's important. Now it's on. Okay.
Yeah.
Now it's on.
Thank you. Yes.
And the seven, like we all know from the Maimon Basalagani, the Zain, the Shachot, the Gomasil, the Shachagam, the Zain, the Shem Shachagila, Shchina, Abam, Shachokirish, Meshari, the Lamat. It's okay, we all know this entire process. So Moshe took it back into this world. That happened. What was Galin our sin by the Avaya, that's Atzilus, they do it Christian, so Manterio is Chavos Atzilus of Yah. Says in other places of cities that Christians in Kabbalah, the Christians of Manterio, that's the time when it's Atzilus and Yah united, Shagila Atzilus Mamash Lamata, but Gam or Yagila Social Malam Atzilus. Remember earlier said there are two stages, there's Atzilus and then there's above Atzilus. Lachain al Kol Dibu with Dibu, Pochan Ishmosan. This is the reason why Manterio it says I'll call Divo Pachan Ishmasan. Eine Shebem Gilui. Hinas an Neshama Shalman established the group. The Neshama Pachan Ishmasan means Shebem Gilui and Neshama Shalman established the group. Mipnei Shalman, Mamayla Gilui Neshama Shalman Mishtashas. Al Kim Ishmasan, Gam can Gilui Etzem Neshama Shalman Mishtashas. So that is the description of what happened. First there was the Ikar Shechina B'Tachtenim, the Gilui Shem Havaya, the Gilui and Atzilus, above Atzilus, and to the Chatoim it was Nistalik, and then to the 7 days, starting from Avram, it was pulled back down into this world, and Matan Torah was the ultimate expression of the Gila of Atzilus and above Atzilus. The latest thing is said that Polchan Ishma, it touches into still Chassidish attach. Polchan Ishmasan means that which neshama, which part of the neshama was shining in them, the higher level of neshama, above the level of neshama, which also means it was Gilead and Tzaf Shalom Be'atzilas, Ma'alim Mishtashas. The whole point he wants to bring out from this told people is what it says, what he says now. So this Gilead of Matan Torah eventually made it to the Mishkan. Remember, interessant. In the Mamar of Basalagani, the lesson is that Moshe R'Dovid Olidort Sinai, And then there's in every Maimon Basagani, there's a little different, little shyness, but I think in one of the places it says, V'ika Gila Elikus, after Matan Torah B'Mishkan, that's the Lashon in I think, Basagani. The other Lashon is, Ben Ramban, Oisei Gila Mamish. That Gila that we experienced, that everybody experienced Matan Torah, stayed in Mishkan. So the Ramban says this point in the beginning of Torah. Zelashayne. So the Mishkan who, what is the secret in Mishkan? She'iyah kovesh ha'shachan ala Sinai sheichin olav benista. That same madriga, which the Ramban called kovet, the glory of the Eiveshter, the Gilui Likus was in the Matan Torah, that same madriga. That was Mizgal Matan Torah. Sheichin olav benista should that dwelled in the Mishkan in a hidden way. Shanama vayishkin kvayda vala Sinai. That's covered in the Malchus, covered Avaya, Shayna Malchus, Meglash, Avaya Malchus. That's already they suffer. The Kved Avaya, basically Kved Avaya La Sina, and then in the Mishkan, that same, the Lashon is Vayishkan Kved Avaya La Sina. So that same Madrig of Kved Avaya, which is the Gila Shem Avaya, which is means Tzilus, Nabava Tzilus, that what happened in Matan Torah, that same thing was made a Kovesh, Shachan Al Sina, Shechan Al. That same covet, that same madriga that was in Gal and Al Sinai, the Matan Torah should be nimshach in the Mishkan. Kosav Chaya, the Bechaya says also the Masha Kosav Vaishkin Kved Avaya. It says that when the pasuk says Vaishkin Kved Avaya Al Sinai means who Masha Kosav Matan Torah Vaydabar Lekim is called Dvarim Ha'ele. V'sham Kosav the Masha Kosav Vaydabar Lekim Vaydabar Avaya. So the Bechai actually says like that when it says Vaydabar Lekim, it really talks about Shem Avaya, and then Shem Lekim who Shoya Gila they Shem Lekim they Shem Musar B'Neisal V'Giluim Shem Avaya Mamash. Okay, so the point that we learned from all this is that the Mishkan, the Binyan Mishkan means the Gila of the Tzahai Madriga of Shem Avaya, Shlomayel Matzilus, which was in Zgala Matan Torah. לכן בפרשת וחנן נאמר, אז כל הדברים האלה דיבר הוויה על כל כך. הראיה, that's a raya that the Elikim of Matan Torah doesn't mean Elam Esther. It means Gila Shem Havaya, but the Elikim is only used as a way to communicate. She was a lesson. She Musag, the Neshama should be able to grasp it, understand it. So the Elikim is only like a conduit, but the Gila was really Shem Havaya. What's proof to it? It says in verse Chanon, Sadvorim Ha'ele Diba Havaya Kol Kal. So the real was the Gila of Shem Havaya. Voice Gila Shem Matan Torah Benigle Oil Mishka Benisto. But what's the difference between Matan Torah and Mishkan? So the Lashon Ramban we said earlier, Sheichen Olav Benisto. So in Matan Torah, all this was in a way that everybody was able to experience it. Everybody felt it. In Parach Nishmas. In Mishkan, it was Benisto. Shoya Shem Gila Shem Havaya. Interessant. Shoya says Gila, it's Benisto and Gila. I'm not sure. That same Madriga that was in Matan Torah Benigo was in Mishkan Benisto. Shoya Shem Gila Shem Havaya. Which because of Ashalot, law says the same thing. But Bechsa Parshas Tuma. In the safe in Shalom is made up of parts. One of the parts of in Shalom is called Torah Shebechsav, which means the biurim of the Shalom in Torah. So in Parshas Toma it says the Misha B'Migdash Isig is Shem Havaya Shulamayla Ma'asog. That's what the Shalom says. That in that anybody who was in the Migdash was Isig is Shem Havaya Ma'asog. In the Migdash Musaf. In the Migdash, it was able to grasp. So we have to understand still, according to what it says, why is it called Benista? If maybe Benista means that people in the rest of the world were maybe we'll say very, very Balabatish Pshat, that Matan Torah, the whole world experienced it. And the Mishkan, only if you get into the Mishkan, experience it. Maybe that's Benista. In a Mishkan, so going back to what the Mishkan is, Yes, because that is the end of the Mishkan. Now he continues the same things, the same Basel Gani. How are we reaching that Amshach, that flow of godliness into our world? This kafe sitra acha. That's to the avoid of his kafe. Because this kafe sitra acha is talking to Shabbat B'cholon. When sitra acha is kafe is one over, is broken, then it's talking to Shabbat B'cholon. Then the Ebershter's glory, you call the Shabbat B'cholon, is Mistal B'cholon. It's rises in all the worlds. שנמשך מתזעת אינסוף, ונמשך הגיל אז המטה-מטה. The המשוך from the highest מדרגה. פירוש כדיסקפיה היינו, he says diskafia really contains two stages. I don't know what's organic here, but it says similar to what's organic. It means it's sapcha chashechon. It means to the diskafia we reach the level of sapcha. Chila tzach is diskafia, achar kach is sapcha, and the ultimate diskafia is first you bend, you force the sitracha, overpower the sitracha, but then eventually sapcha, turn the darkness into light, turn the sitracha into Gdush. For example, where do we see the Sapcha? In Maisa Mitzvahs, in the acts of Mitzvahs. Take a physical object and we turn it into something which is holy. There's always a mitzvah. For example, the klaf parchment of the tefillin. Before you turned it and tefillin, it was part of the universe of Klipas Nega. So to the mitzvah, it's transformed into a holy object. It's transformed from darkness into light, becomes a kei of what's nailed. Similar to the way we affect the objects around us, it's also the same thing that happens when nefesh, our own person, she's the person should transform all his senses, and his thought, speech, and action. I do that first. Second. It's an interesting pasuk in Irmia. But it says the opposite. Irmia Perek Zayin, it says like this: Al tiftachu el divrei hasheker leimer eil chalavaya heimo. So the interesting one, the Mephoshim says, why is it 3 times eil chalavaya neged the shalosh agorli? Interesting. What's the next pasuk? The tivas ma the chechem was ma'alechem. Then koim Hashem tzvokas. Like tiva the chechem ma'alechem ve'eshkana itchem b'makom hazeh. That's ve'eshkana eschem b'makom hazeh. The Shechina is a tiva the chechem. Don't, and it's a negative. Actually, the Targum says it says 3 times Eichalavai connected to Shalosh Agorim. Let's see what it says in our Maimah, Pshat in the pasuk. Zeu shekosov Eichalavai heim gimel po'omim. That's why the pasuk says 3 times. It's in the Yom Perek Zayin pasuk Dalet. Why does it say 3 times? There's a few explanations of 3 times. Like I said, And I said the Targum and the Sama Forshim say it means connected Shalosh Regalim. Here in the Ma'amar it says different pshat. Number one, she'em connected Gimel Pam Kodesh. 3 times you say Kodesh, that's the 3 madrigas of Eichel Havai. Shenasim Pchinis Eichel Klil, V'Yamsav sheKodesh Hamuvdom. Eichel Havai means a Keli. Eichel is a Eichel, it contains the chamber that contains godliness, Eichel Havai, and the 3 times Kodesh means Shenasim Pchinis Eichel Klil, Kodesh Hamuvdom. Gimel Pam Meim connected Gimel Elam is Biyat. Shamshich Gimel Elam is Biyat. Tu Arav Veda, Eichel Havai in the Beis Hamikdash, which means not just the physical Beis Hamikdash, like we just said before, the Avodah of Isapcha, Iskafcha, and Isapcha, so Mamshech Gila B'Galam is B'Yah. Zerin in a Mishkan, Sha'aya Gila Erin Sof, Lamat. Okay, so there's another point that Mishkan, I go to Lamat, L'chayin, Oy B'Mishkan Gimel Dior. So the 3 parts of the Mishkan are also connected these 3 madrigas. But the 3 parts of the Mishkan, Kodesh HaKadoshim, Oil Moed v'chatzar Mishkan. We're not talking about the Mishkan, not the Mikdash. So the three, there's the Kodesh HaKadoshim, there's the Oil Moed, which is outside of Kodesh HaKadoshim, Kodesh. There's the Chatzar Mishkan, the Yard. So what is the Yadua she'en connected at Las Al Mishkan B'Zoyer Pashat Shlach Daf Tneim with Aleph. So these 3 madrigas of Kodesh HaKadoshim and Oil Moed and the Chatzar connected the 3 madrigas, not and was Bi, another way to explain it. What are 3 madrigas? The Kodesh HaKadoshim means of Shlamayla Matzilus. Kodesh HaKadoshim means the Elam of Shlamayla Matzilus. The Elam of Oil Moed neged the Elam Matzilus. The Elam Moed is Matzilus. Chatzar Mishkan neged the Elam Biyah. So it's another. So we bring in that we megale the ayah madrig into the law. Which means in simple terms, all these 3 together. So that is the concept of the Mishkan, like we just explained earlier. The male, according to this, now he says more specifically, the Etzem Mishkan connected Gimel Elam is Biyah. The Mishkan itself also had 3 parts. Connected Gimel Elam is Biyah. The Etzem Mishkan itself. So you see, we already have 3 pirushim. One pshat was, the first pshat was that Eichel Havai 3 times and it's Biyah. Then he says, according to the Zoya, the 3 madrigas, the Etzem Mishkan according to the Zoya is the Elam Atzilus. So really more specifically, the Mishkan itself also has the 3 madrigas of Biyah. How does it work? Koshem Ayamatzis Shitim Oimdim. It says, Vasisas HaKoshem LaMishkan. Atze Shitim Oimdim, that the Koshim, the Koshim of the Mishkan are Oimdim. So they're connected as Sofim the Elam Abriya. So this, the Koshim correspond parallel the Malachim from Elam Abriya, which are called Sofim. So what do we see it? He says, there's a famous Zohar in Medrash, Lamayla Sofim Oimdim, Lamata Atze Shitim Oimdim. Says, the Medrash says the Oimdim of Atze Shitim Oimdim connects to the pasuk in Yeshaya, in the beginning of Yeshaya, in Merkeves Yeshaya, Sofim Oimdim Imaloi. So the word Oimdim of the Atze Shitim of the Kashi HaMishkan is connected to Sofim Oimdim Shalom Island. The Sofim, the Malachim that are called Sofim are in Olam Abriya. The Erez, but he brings what is Atze Shitim Oimdim? The Erez is the cedar tree, which also is Atze Shitim. Erez the Gavoy Yesem Kol Ilonis, which is also Mina Erez Asher Balavonin. The pasuk that says Mina Erez Asher Balavonin is the highest, is the tallest tree, which is a remez Ein Sofim Shalom Island B'Kol Malach. The highest they Fanim and Mitzir Asir. The law of Madrigas Malachim highest and they Fanim and Mitzir and Asir. Chen Rei Malachim and Mitzir. The majority, the main chamber of the Malachim is in the Olam, which is called the Elam Atzir. That's why Elam Atzir is called the Malachim. Gam matat saroilom, the matat, the old, the sar, the minister, that means the leader of all the malachim, Sar Shaloilam, is in the Olam HaYetzir. Srafim, Srafim ain't the Bria. Mashing Srafim are in a level of Bria which is above Yitzir. The Srafim are Kodesh, that's why the Srafim say Kodesh, Kodesh, Kodesh. Masigim, Esher himself, Kodesh Muvdal. Shachayis Muvdal, Chayis Oefanim, Ein Masigim. The way the malachim which are called Srafim, Elam HaBria, they grasp the greatness of the Eibishter, the Kodesh, the Kodesh Muvdal, the Eibishter's holiness and separation from anything that anything in the Shtalshalus, they grasp, but that's why they say Kodesh Kodesh. Chayes Efanim Eino Masigim. The Chayes Efanim cannot grasp that level of Kedusha. Lachein Efanim Chayes Kodesh and Barash Godam Bisnatzim Lovatzasofim. We say in davening, Barash Godam Bisnatzim Lovatzasofim. The law of Malachim, which are called the Chanim, Fais, and Fanim and Chayes, they are Misnasim L'Umasatzvam. They ascend parallel, or not parallel, against, parallel to the Sofim, we'll say, Shasofim Aimrim, Shashoyim Sasofim Aimrim Ve'em Einam Masigim, which means, Shat is they hear the Sofim, but they themselves don't understand. Avalei Fanim. Sofim, okay, the Friedrich Rebbe changed it. See in the bottom, Friedrich Rebbe changed it to a Sofim. Sofim Masigim Pchinas Kodesh. L'chein, there's another emes. L'chein Sofim Imdim Mima Loi, Loshen in, like we said before, in Makeres Yishaya, Sofim Imdim Mima Loi. It says, Be'eres Hashem Yeshev Al Kisei Rom V'Nisa, Sofim Imdim Mima Loi. What's Meintos? Mimal Shchinta, because the Sofim can grasp a madrega which is Mimal Loy. So all this, we're still in the middle of discussing. It goes into a very long discussion of this point. The first point we made that the core is again. Don't forget the Maimah started. What is the first Maimah started? Well, says it's a caution and a mishkan atzishiti Maimah. So the Maimah discusses what the Koshim. And here's the question of the Adonim. So first we discuss what the Mishkan is. So the Mishkan, the first stage, he said that Mishkan is Malchus. But is really the Asiyas Mishkan means the Amshocha of in this world. And that is to the Mishkan. And so the Mishkan itself, he says, is made up of three parts. Now we're talking about the first. The highest part is the Koshim, because the Koshim correspond to it says by Koshim, it corresponds to the Sofim, which is the highest madrega of Malachim. The Sofim say Kodesh Kodesh. So in the middle of discussing this, he goes into a longer arichas to explain what is the madrega of Sofim and what that is also reflected in the Mikdash. So he's going to elaborate more. What is it that the Sofim see? The Sofim see the Sofim, not just they see, what they experience, and what level, what highest state of Likus they experience. The Inik see Ata Vayla Vadecha Ata Sisas Hashemayim. Says in Pasuk Ata Vayla Vadecha Ata Sisas Hashemayim. Pirush Ata Vayla Vadecha. The first part of the pasuk that part of the pasuk speaks about Elam Atzilus. Because in Elam Atzilus, the experience is the Eibishter is Reined Milvadi. It's only him and nothing else exists. The real Deya, but we don't remember we learned in other places, Kel Deya Savai, Deya Mit is Das Alien, the Deya, the Eibishter's perspective of reality is that's the real, the true perspective, which is that Eined Milvade, that is the only thing there is, there's nothing else. That Madriga, they are amitis shebeatzmos is meir begila b'atzilus. That is expressed in Atzilus. That's also one of the reasons why Atzilus is called Elam Ha'achdus, that it's unity, because in it Mavad, it's only the Eibishter there. The Yosh Sham Murgish when Musag Yosh Musag v'Nirgish Sham in that Madriga of Atzilus, it's grasped and it's felt. The Eibishter is the only real being, and everything else is nothing. That's why the entire all the parts, so to speak, of Elam Atzilus are bottled. The bottle and the miyuchad, they're united. Agan Atzilus, as a sphere Chachma Bina, Umidas, speak all the time that Atzilus has 10 spheres. So when he says Ardus, Chachma Bina, Midas, so there is this Halkus, the answer, Mikom Kol Vadech. The Taka Atzilus has all these spheres, but they all Levadecha, they all feel their beetle to the Sof. Gamma came with Atzilus and of course Mamish. Even the Kelim of Atzilus, even that aspect of Atzilus, which means a Keli, which means allowing to define the expression of Elikus, it's all still Elikus. Shayitzchakas is still there, says the Chagam. Shayitzchakus, the spheres of Kelim. The fact that this Chalkus in spheres Atzilus is really in the Kelim. Sha'ayr has Pshitus. Mashengen the Oyres are all Pshitus. They're all plain and abstract. Agam brings it. Agam Yam Vov Makamachar. Sha'ayr Sish Gam has spheres. He brings in right away the famous machlekes we have. We didn't have it a long time already, but we learned some more in the past. Famous two shittas, the earth pshutim or not. So there's a shitta that the earth. First he said the earth is pshita. So that's the shitta that the earth themselves are poshut, are abstract. They don't have any shape. But Agam another shita, the shita what we call the Rebbe calls earth matziyorim, sheberes yesh gam as spheres. Arei Omer v'sefer Yitzira as spheres b'li ma. So when we talk about this shita that earth have shutim, even according to that shita is b'li ma. What does b'li ma mean? Earth as spheres sheberes b'li mahus. It's not the even this Chalkus there, even the Tzio, it's bli mahus. It's not essential. Relative to the Kelim, the Pshitas. Which cause Makamacha Bial brings in another point that says in other basic cities, the view of that concept. What does it mean? Pshitas. What does it mean? It says the Lashon Shtoik that it says when they get to I think to Rabbi Akiva, why is it possible? All the Isurim of Rabbi Akiva when he was tortured, how is it possible? So the question was, is that Torah, that's the reward for the Torah that he gets all the torture? So the answer the Eibishter said, Shtoik kach olav machshov. What is all about machshava? Machshava is something, in a way, it signifies something. Because I've said kachalo b'irtzayne, right? B'irtzayne means that's what he wants. No explanation. It says, but machshava usually signifies that there is logic to it. So what is the logic in such a thing? So Chassidus explains. He says here, Hainu. There is a tam, all of machshava. That there is logic. Now, of course, there was a mokum klal. Shov is a means it's a level. It's machshava. There is tam, but it's such a tam which is above, which Moshe cannot grasp. The That's an example, that's an illustration maybe of the Indian that the earth stuck at tziyu, it's machshava, it's called machshava. It's called, like I said, machshava in the sense that it's logical, it's a thought. It's a logical thought, but it's such a high level of logic that we can't grasp, it's impossible to understand. So that's an example of the concept of earth. They have a tziyu, it's called large, it's called tziyu, but still it's pashut, it's abstract, it's impossible to understand. He says the Lashon, it's chachma, it's machshav, which is chachma. It's wisdom. There's wisdom to it, but it's such a hidden level of wisdom. The Lashon is here. It's totally, it's impossible to understand it now, man. So that's a dogma of the concept that the earth of Atzil, the earth should earth Mutziyorim Taket, like he said, but the Tzil is so abstract that it's impossible to understand. So that's the marshal from. That's what he bought from Tekel Mashal. Comes back to the Nimshal in our case, and our Maimon. So we have it's interesting this type of explanations because it's not that we really understand it, but it's just an example of a concept which shows almost paradoxical. That it's logic, it's machshava, but it's impossible to understand. So similarly, says the areas of the spheres, they're tziyur, they're mitziyorim, but it's such a high level of tziyur that's impossible to point to the tziyur. Was the lashon here? The pshitas mamish. So that's one way to explain it. According to the other shita that earth pshutim, surely the earth is mufshit. That that's why in Atzilus the earth is in a state of total pshit. We say Eira Chachma. We say concept Eira Chachma. If there is Pashut, so why we call it Eira Chachma? Ain't the Sherpnes Chachma. Doesn't mean that the Eira itself has the definition of Chachma. Ki im sha Eira amatzi la'atzel tzvias Chachma she'ekli. Kasha, that the Eira is the Eira amatzi is emanated in the Chachma, because okay. Again, so we're talking about quite Avshat the Musagim here. Now he goes back to the other shita. First he spoke about the shita of Eretz Mitziyorim. So he explained that even the shita of Eretz Mitziyorim, there is the Pshitas. Now he goes talking about the shita that Eretz Pshutim. So if it's Eretz Pshutim, how can we call it Eretz Chachma, Eretz Chesed? The Eretz is the same Eretz. It's like we're talking about the light. There's one light shining, one shape. Then we have a bunch of windows. One is yellow, and one is red. So we see yellow and red. Can we call the Eretz that comes to the yellow window so the Eretz is the same. So that's the question. So why do we call it Eretz Chachma? What is the answer? The answer, he says, in the answer Gufa, he says two things. Number one is, sounds over here that the Eretz is related somehow to the sphere. And then he says, we see the Eretz to the Chachma, so we call it Eretz Chachma. The Eretz itself is really Pashut. That's why we find a concept in Kabbalah. There's a concept in Kabbalah. Usually it talks about maybe Avai Benikad Elikim. I think it's one of the most. That's I find a lot of Psukim in Tanakh. that is there's a Shem Avaya, but the Nikkur is a Likim. When we read it a Likim. So sometimes it says that there's in of Chesed v'Kli Gvura. The and then it says Achlifu d'Chtai. Chesed v'Kli Gvura. That's the lashon. That's the concept in Kabbalah. That the earth changes. It supposedly is, so to speak, its place. What's meant this? So how is it possible that it's because it's pshitus? That's why, because the earth is pashut. So the earth chesed and going to gvur. But really, the earth itself is abstract. It doesn't have the definition of chesed and gvur. But it's called Erech Chesed, like we said before, Erech Chachma. So why is it called Erech Chesed if it's Pshitus? So here's another point here. It's that the kind of shagam la'achar shemislabe sha'er bekli shenikne ba'er kinyan ha'kelim, even after the earth is already invested in the kelim, and the earth itself gets the shape of the keli, mikomaka mitzat pshitus ha'er, because the earth is still pashut, it's abstract. In the Chotze Eagle here, it brings bot shitas. Either the oil is pashut legamre, why? Because oil is pshutim, or if it's shitas legamre yakenim, that's according to the shita verse Matziorim. Yochel li es achli v'dachtai. Arei shemitzad ha'oil lo yesh ischalkos, v'ischalkos asfiros inside the kenim. So this entire discussion is just to make the point that he started saying that in Atzilus the ischalkos, the real division is a function of the kelim. The oil itself is mufshut. Either mufshut b'yachas the kelim or mufshut mamash.
So what was the answer to the question? That was a good question, because why is called Or HaChesed even though it's Or is Pashut?
It's called Or. So the answer is that it's called Or. I mean, the question he asked Neget Chachma. The answer was that Kasharim is Slavish v'Chachma nikra Chachma. In other words, from our perspective, when we see the Or, we see it as Or Chachma. The Or itself is not changed, but us, when we experience the Or, I think that's pshat. We experience it as Or Chachma. Like I gave the mashal from the yellow, the colored glass, that you see the light on the colored glass. So that Or, the way it's mislavish, the way it reaches us, the way we experience it is Or of Chachma. The Or itself is like a push.
But he's saying that Or HaChesed is mislavish in Gevura, and or Gevura is mislavish b'Chesed. That's the point I was trying to.
So over there he says something else. It says shenikne ba'or kinyan ha'kelim. So even after the Or is mislavish in the kelim, it means it already has that aspect of the keli affects him. That, in other words, so even that that's already affected by the keli, the chlifa d'chtai, that itself, which was mislabish, can chlifa d'chtai, can change its location and be made gvur. This general topic is one of the most complicated topics of Siddur. So I will look for more
David,
more places. Yes.
is there a link you could post? I know it's all over the place, but maybe asbara between Pshutis, Eris Pshutim, and Eris Psurim.
Yeah. I would say I will post. Yeah, I think I did it in the past, but I'll do it.
You did it once. I don't know where it is.
Yeah, I'll find it. Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Okay. I'll do that. Now maybe I will read it all more. The interesting thing here in our Maimah, that's the Maimah. This Maimah doesn't even. It's not even the sugi of the Maimah talks about this. But Mamish the Chagav, he just wants to bring out everything is achdus. So the Chagav brings this complicated subject. Now he comes back to say number one, so the whole point was to make mitzad ha'oyer ata v'adech lo yesh schalkus. Very schalkus. That's for the kelim. Mikol magam kelim alikus mamish. So even the kelim is also alikus. Akshem kelim lo yera pashla mislavish ben. The elikus, that's why they're kalim. They can be kalim for the elikus. על סלאפ שזוהר בהם הרי גם כן ביטל בחינת איחוד בתכלס. Not only does the kelim alikus that the earth mislavish in them. So all this is part of the point that ato avayla vadech that in atzilus einad milvad. Yeah, okay. I'll need to find the sources. Okay, should we continue?
Thank you.